You've got to be the change you want to see. Be the change. If you see something is wrong, jump in there and do the best you can. That's all you can do. Today, we welcome some wonderful local folks who are doing that, being that change. Hello, ladies. We have Stephanie Logsdon, who is an author and educator, Jerome's Rainbow, and Mary Ellen Stockman, illustrator of Jerome's Rainbow. I'm glad you all are here.
Thank you.
How did all this get started?
Well, it's kind of a long story. I love to write. I've been writing since high school, and I came up with this idea actually back a long time ago when I didn't like the way people were treating others because of the way they looked, or maybe they thought something different than the person that, So I, wrote the story, and eventually down the road I was like, this needs to be published, and I met Mary Ellen. And when we talked, it was like stars aligning. She had the exact same ideas that I did. She believed in starting young and starting early and talking about race and about religion and all those things that are difficult, but doing it in a way that's very conversational. So starting those conversations early with really young children. My boys are 8 and 6, so it's especially true for me. Like, I want them to accept others, and I want them to accept themselves and their differences. So.
Well, Mary Ellen, you do, like at Baxter's Corner, with which you created, I loved your pride display in the window. I literally stood there, I bet, for 5 minutes just looking at the pride display. I loved it. So why is all this important to you?
Well, I've had a couple of girls myself. And growing up, there was a lot of racial tension going on, and a lot of just tension. Anybody who was different, and it always distressed me. So I tried to bring them up in respecting themselves and learning choices. And it just seemed so difficult what was happening. Well, in 2005, when I was having my first grandson, the things that were happening even then that my daughter and I were talking about, and I painted some paintings of puppets, and she wanted a tarantula in her nursery so she could teach Baxter, who is my grandson, and obviously named our business after. Differences. It wasn't necessarily black and white. It was all sorts of things. Religion, what influences people, how do you bring them up to have an open mind, have a discussion. And that's kind of where it started. Took me years to find a writer. I am a crayon at heart, so I can't write very well. Stephanie can write a whole story in a week, and it would take me, well, I'm still working on one. I tried, but
that's okay. That's okay. You keep working on it. You made a big point, though. Not just religion, not just color, the way somebody looks or talks or dresses, or maybe they eat differently than you. I don't know why I think it's as we get older. I personally believe that you are born loving. Someone has to teach you to hate.
Absolutely.
Yes, so I think the love is there, but all of a sudden you start seeing or hearing your mom or your dad say, look at that person who, and we learn hate. We don't have to learn love. So tell me about the character and what he does, Stephanie.
So Jerome is a giraffe, and he goes to school with all different kinds of animals. And they're given a task by Mr. McBoom, their teacher, who happens to be an orangutan, to create a self-portrait of themselves. And as they do this, they all start making fun of, ew, green, and oh, I don't like the color pink, and they end up ripping the paper to shreds. And it's kind of symbolic of ripping each other down. And so Jerome goes home, and he comes up with this plan to make everyone realize that it would be so boring if we all looked the same and all talked the same or were the same color. It would be really boring. We need to accept other people and really respect them for being who they are and respect yourself for being who you are. And that's the whole premise of the book. And then when you turn to the Go Beyond section, there's comprehension questions, activities, and ways that maybe parents don't know how to start that conversation, or a teacher or a grandparent, but this book allows them to do that.
I do believe, too, when you're talking to kids, and Mary Ellen, you being the owner of Baxter's Corner, you probably know this to be true, that if you even kind of broach on it, kids will take over from there.
Oh, you don't have to
They
say
want to
anything.
share. Yeah.
Yes,
And
they do.
they watch you from infancy.
Yeah.
They pick up on your tension, your anger. You mentioned anger is not in a child.
Yeah.
Where you talk about generations of people who are angry bringing up new generations
Of angry.
of angry.
Yeah, because they,
you know,
they see
we're
it.
angry and angrier.
Yeah.
That's
We've got
a story itself. Isn't it?
we've got Amanda on the phone. Do you have a question or comment, Amanda? What's going on with you today?
Oh, basically, I'm the mother of an 8-year-old, beautiful blonde-haired girl. And from the time she was born, we had always made sure that, she was exposed to, diverse groups. She's actually seen me advocate, publicly for better representation for minority students in our district, including in front of the Board of Education, actually. She's seen us treat everyone equally. Kids absorb so much from the adults they trust in their lives. That's how they form their own views of the world, really. And we've even, once we found out someone that we were acquainted with that she was around had racist ideals, we've cut them off immediately and removed her from their presence completely to make sure that she didn't absorb any of that. We've always thought we did a great job of making sure that she sees everyone equally, but the last couple of months have just really shown me that we're not doing enough. We actually decided to have a talk with her. She's actually a very intelligent little girl, very observant, so I guess it just depends on their level of maturity, but we actually showed her an image of what happened to George Floyd, and we talked about it, and I actually cried when I talked about it, and sorry.
It's okay.
Let her see that, let her see how much it really hurt us, to talk about, something like that happening to someone for no reason. And then I actually gave her a scenario, actually substituted in, the stepdad of her best friend, who happens to be a beautiful, sweet little black girl that lives on the street from us. She loves her the little girl's stepdad. I said, what if he was going to the store across from our subdivision and came out and for just some ridiculous, idea just because of, what he looks like, he was targeted and, basically killed, just for being who he is.
Yeah.
How horrible is that, and that's what happens to people, and we've talked to her about Ahmad and Brianna. We in depth and, told her, these are things that are happening in everyday life. Even just regular activity. Every time I see an article racism, just in banking or, in jobs, I actually read the articles to her so she can, I think the biggest weapon is awareness.
Awareness is a big thing, Amanda. You are right. You are right. Okay, I'm going to have to take a break. Amanda, keep doing what you're doing. And we want to hear from other parents. What are you doing? We are talking to your kids about everything going on. We'll come right back. A lesson on acceptance. I will tell you this, when you can, always just stop and look at Baxter's Corner's window. I love their window, especially if there's something big going on, because Mary Ellen Stottman, I was going to say, you take the time to make it beautiful. Do you do that? Do you make the displays in the window?
Depends on what window you're talking about. I do everything, yes. I'm a graphic designer by trade.
That's why it is so wonderful.
And then a printer, so.
Okay, that's why
deal.
it's so wonderful. Well, the money, the proceeds from the book right now, Stephanie's book, Jerome's Rainbow, goes to Decode Project. Now, what blows my mind is I used to think, oh, I know everything that's going on in this town, and I don't. There's no way. We have so much. Can you all tell me about Decode Project? It is a local nonprofit.
I can't tell you much, but I saw her being interviewed a couple weeks ago. It was still in July, and we were going, last month we gave money, all of our proceeds to the Cabbage Patch.
Oh, wow.
This month we decided to give it to LaTanya Whitlock, who is the co-executive director at Decode Project. Their tagline is fostering equity through literacy. She sounds fantastic. The few minutes I saw her, what she spoke to was exactly what our books want to do. We are a for-profit company, but I believe in for-profit because going out and begging teaches other things. You've got to learn how to make some money in order to do something. We're still working on making the money because we're pretty new, but getting out there, advertising will help a lot of nonprofits. That's all I can say eventually.
Well, we appreciate what you do. Stephanie, what do you want to tell parents about talking to their children when it comes to race and equality and treating everyone fairly?
Mm-hmm. I teach in a very diverse school, so I feel like in our country right now, we need this more than ever. We've got to start listening to each other, and we've got to start looking deep into ourselves and our beliefs and what we're doing, and we have to start talking to our children. A lot of times I see kids on their iPads and cell phones and they're not having conversations with their parents, but how awesome would it be to read a book to your child and then be able to get into a deep conversation with them?
Yeah, I agree. And remember that children look at you and follow what you do. I thank you all for coming, and John Ramsey is next.